So in the Blender window, in the right panel, if you open the if you open the right panel, you'll be able to see this ball looking thing, which I already told you in the series before that this is the materials tab. So in Blender Render, we have this basic material in this queue if you open a new Blender file. So let's learn to actually customize and actually make new materials. So the basics. I think I already told you about the color changing of the materials. So yeah, if you want to turn to red, then you have a red material. Turn to blue or green. So, and actually you can see the preview of your material in this area. It says preview. You can close or open any of the tabs here, just to remind you. So this is the preview. You can actually change the viewport the way you want. But I personally do think that circle or sphere is the best way to look at what you need. So here are the basic shader models, which actually allows you to I don't actually know how to explain this, but it's like several modes of your material, in this case of the diffuse color. So yeah, and this is the specular. You see this shining look over here, right? So this is the light source, and you see that it's not actually a reflection, but you see this white part here. It's where the light is mostly bumped into our eyes or our vision. So it's kind of looking glossy here. So yeah, specular determines this color or shape or size. So you can actually change the color into blue. Yeah, because for example, oil, like materials or anything covered with oil, they have different color of speculars. So you can actually change this, and it can actually change its strength. So you call this intensity. If you raise it back down to 0, you see nothing. But if you slowly raise it up, you'll see it's increasing by the number. And always note that you can actually, this only lets you go up to 1, but you can actually type more. For example, wait, actually specular doesn't work, but I'm sorry. But there are actually many things that can actually work. For example, if this has a value of 50, you can only go up to 100, but you can type, like for example 200, and you see it works. So always before, if you want to make customizations, you can actually find out if going over the original value actually works or not. And onto the basic controls. So shading, this actually lets you determine how the shading will work. So if this says emit, so emit means how much light it produces. So currently it's 0, so it's just a standard object that doesn't have or produce any light. But if you increase it, you'll see it's actually getting brighter. And actually, let me show a good example of this for you. So we have this thing, this plane and a cube on the plane. If we render this, the value of the cube's emit is currently 0, so yeah, we don't see it actually bright. But if we increase this, you see it actually shines, and actually you can actually make this shine affect the planes or other objects around it. If you press indirect lighting, approximate, and you see it glows around. So this is what emit does. So, and if you can increase it to any number you want. For example, 5 or 20. Oh my god, that's bright. And if you go back to 0, back to normal. And if you want shadeless, it just shows you this is actually not glowing, it's just shadeless. Has no color. It has no color changes in this cube, and let me show it to you. So if you render this, I'll show you how to render later. I'm just proving it that these are the same color. So if you render this, and if you click on the mouse, you see that on this side of the screen you see the XYZ value, and here you'll see the colors, and you see they're all the RGB of this green material. It's all same everywhere you go. However, if I have my mouse over here, you see that the numbers always change, but these are all the same because it's shadeless. Okay, back to the original window. And now we have transparency. We all know what transparency is, right? So if you decrease the alpha value, you'll see it's transparent now. And Frenzel. What Frenzel does is, you can see in the preview over here, Frenzel actually kinda empties the middle part of your material. Yeah, so you see in the preview that the middle part is kinda empty. If I set it back to 0, it's normal again. So if you actually do this too much, you'll only see like the edge or the slight margin of your material. So I recommend you to have a small value for this Frenzel, so you can actually increase this a little more and make a little weird effect with transparency. And actually there are 3 modes for transparency. Mask. So what mask does, it's actually not quite the transparency you know. So this, if you render this out, it shows the background. So even though any mesh or material or object is behind this cube, it doesn't show. It only shows the background. So let me prove it to you. Let's say this world is red. We have a red world. But you see that if I render this out, I see the world. Huh. It's red. I mean, it used to be green, but why is it red? Because its transparency is focusing on the background. So if I have this value, the transparency value, all the way to 0, you'll see it has the same color with the background. And ray trace. I'll tell you about this further later, but let me show you the basics right now. So ray trace is like the sophisticated version of Z transparency. So you know how when we look at our glass cups or anything, or especially like your spectacles or my magnifying glasses, you see, like, you know how the lens bend the light to make a new type of vision. This actually does the same thing. So IOR is actually like, this is the most basic kind of bending of light in Blender. And filter is basically a filter. How how much glassy or less transparent or dark it's going to be. You can actually try these out later, because I'm not actually have good experience with ray trace, but I told you the basics. Now, after transparency, we have mirror. So mirror is just all about reflectivity. So let's say I have a monkey head here. I have a monkey head. Let's set another random material for the monkey head, and I want to see this cube reflecting the monkey into my vision or eyes or your camera. So in order to do that, you increase the value of reflectivity, just like transparency. So if you do, you see this reflects the monkey, In addition, you can change the reflectivity size. Oh no, sorry, not size. The color of reflectivity. So the reflection, it returns everything as red in this case. You see the floor got red in this imagery over here. And that's actually basically what you all need to know for the basic, the most useful changes or modifications for materials. In the next one, I'll show you how to add textures to these materials. Oh, and before that, let me tell you, you may have noticed that I was keep jumping through this 3D vision and the rendered vision, and actually I'll try to tell you how to do that. So this is the viewport shading option. So this, it says rendered, so this actually gives you a small preview of the rendered version of your material or object. Other than that, you have this material look, which actually gives you a more detailed version to view your material. This one for viewing textures, which we didn't actually add right now. Solid, which we were always watching. The default one. Wireframe, which shows you the wired version of your materials or models, and this is actually good for 3D modeling, which I'll tell you later. And bounding box. This is actually useful to view scenery that makes your computer lag, because everything is shown as boxes except for lights and cameras. In the next one, I'll tell you how to render, and I'll see you on the next one.